Peace. Quickly, think fast. Slaves and soldiers have to be ignorant in order to be controlled. When you look around yourself, you know, do the people who, slavishly work 9 to 5s, and I'm talking about not just working, but people who have like slave type of jobs and then slave type of situations, you know, in most cases, they're not educated about the fullness of our being. They're not educated on how the law of attraction, how we're vibrations on the spiritual, we're vibrations on the human experience. Most of them don't know of these things, and that's the whole point of the government, 1%, matter of fact, and two, breaking down that word. In it, if a word has ment in it, so like government, environment, all that, it's dealing with your mental, what I'm saying, statement. But like the govern your mental, the people trying to govern your mental, is trying to, you know, the only way to govern your mental is if you're ignorant, you know. And I think about like, you don't see people with knowledge of self, with the true esoteric occult information of like what's going on in the Bible. Like people with that information, you know, tend to not be in the army. You know what I'm saying? Like most people who have this knowledge is not in the armed forces. It's for a reason. And I'm not knocking anybody who may find themselves in a slavish like 9 to 5 or in the army. Is a growth. We it's trial and error. In order to know not to do something, sometimes you gotta, like, in order to know not to touch the stove, sometimes you gotta put your hand on the stove and get burnt, to realize it. So to use that analogy, there still is for the people out there, you can still learn from your mistakes and grow out of it if you choose to. But just looking at just that whole vibe of and with religion too, I think about soldiers, because a soldier, they take commands blindly. Like, what I'm saying, it's like, hey, go shoot that little kid because America, that little kid might have a bomb on him or this and that. And even though their heart and soul tells them, man, I shouldn't shoot that little kid, because they pushed into this brainwashing vibe, or under the illusion that this kid really could harm them, or whatever the case may be, then they following orders. But basically, again, like just blindly going in, because I mean that it takes a certain type of ignorance, to just listen to people without questioning things. That's the whole vibe. And when you look at from slaves to soldiers, it's going in without questioning things. And I even on a to put the how can I say, to put the soldier spot in a neutral space to a certain extent. Well, no, I was about to say, I like, you could say you would have to be ignorant to be a soldier for like the say for the information we dealing with. But then I'm like, nah, if you was doing it like that, then you wouldn't be fully vibrating on high frequency, so you, in essence, it would still be ignorant. So look, I was trying to be open-minded and see, if like you could be a soldier for for the truth and the information that's going on now, instead of a certain religion. But I mean, if you in anything without really knowing what's going on and knowing why you're doing what you're doing, and in that sense, that's a form of ignorance. But just sharing that vibe, like, of what, just to be aware of, like, again, what the government or certain people looking for. They're looking for a certain level of ignorance, because if you are educated about all this mind, if you're educated about the Hermetic principles or the Emerald tablets, if you're educated about chakras and educated about the law of attraction, all this mind, back to the Hermetic principle, if you educated on all these situations, in most cases you'll find that you won't be a slave or a soldier for anything. You know what I'm saying? Because even even if you say, for instance, as a light being, you might consider I'm a soldier for the light, but not necessarily, because you're still acting upon your own, like your inner guidance, your inner source, compared to where, somebody that, and I say, for instance, uh, this would be an example of a soldier on that side of the table. Like if somebody like come up to me and like, Universal, no matter what you say, man, I'm down to ride, man. I don't care what you do, say, or whatever, then that's a form of ignorance on this side of the spectrum, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part though, you don't find too many soldiers and slaves that are knowledgeable to what's going on in the universe, in essence. Unless they playing the undercover role, in essence, like, but to each his own. But just, sharing that like they want ignorance, and think about that. Once you make a person ignorant, like my parents indirectly served as soldiers for the Catholic religion, because that's what I wanted to bring it into too. Like, like, don't know if Jesus real or not, or if he white or not, or none of that, but they for sure taught me to fall in line with it. Why? Out of ignorance, like a little soldier, like line up like a little soldier. And it ain't nothing to my parents just doing the best they could do with the knowledge, that was at hand. But again, just trickling into the religious vibe as well. These people ride for Jesus out of ignorance. Like how they say that. And what's funny, the people Bible thumping, and one of the Bible verses is like, "My people shall perish for lack of knowledge," or something of that nature. And it's like, here it is that quote is in the exact literature that's confusing everybody, and in some essence has people ignorant, but I digress. Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. So it's about getting educated. And I say educated like we're getting educated to a certain system, but that's more so, let me say, getting the knowledge, So getting the knowledge, and the knowledge means to know, in essence, But just getting to where we're growing on a more knowledgeable level with our spirituality, and prevent ourselves from becoming slaves and soldiers. Peace.